Welcome back to Before Glow ASMR. Today, I'll be talking about how much tuah a hawk tuah could a hawk tuah. If a hawk tuah could hawk tuah. Something strange happens when you spit on that thing. Step 1. The hawk tuah capacity. We'll start with the assumption that a hawk has a hawk tuah-ing efficiency. Since hawks in the wild are known for their precision and speed, let's imagine that their hawk tuahing is equally swift and exacting. Let's hypothesize. 1 tuah equals 1 unit of hawking effort. A hawk can hawk 5 tuah per minute. This is its optimal hawking rate under ideal conditions. Good weather, plenty of tuah, no distractions from falcons. Step 2. Influence of environmental factors. Hawks aren't just hawking machines. They're subject to natural forces. So let's factor in a few elements that might impact their hawk tuahing. Number 1. Weather conditions. If it's a breezy day, the hawk may be slightly slower. Let's say we lose about 10% efficiency for every 10 miles per hour wind. On ideal conditions, calm and sunny, the hawk's efficiency stays at 100%. Time of day. Early morning, or maybe even. Early morning, or even... What the heck? Early morning or evening may bring higher levels of tuah-friendly prey, i.e., less alert tuah. Lock in? In this case, the hawk could increase its hawking rate by 20% during peak hunting hours. Midday, too hot and distraction, efficiency drops to 80%. Training level. Let's assume this is a highly trained hawk. With maximum experience, we can boost its maximum rate by 10% above its baseline rate. Step 3. Hawk tuahing metrics. Now let's calculate the hawk's hawk tuahing potential for a 3-hour session. Let's say it's a particularly focused hawk and is not distracted easily by other birds or flashy objects. Optimal conditions. Base rate. 5 tuahs per minute. Efficiency increase, also known as training. 10% to new rate equals 5.5 tuah per minute. Perfect weather, no winds, so we're operating at 100% efficiency. Peak time? We'll assume this hawk operates during peak hours for 2 out of 3 of the hours. Breakdown. For 2 hours, peak time, at 5.5 tuahs a minute, and with a 20% efficiency boost during peak times, the hawk could hawk at a rate of 6.6 tuahs a minute. Total for 2 hours equals 6.6 tuahs a minute times 60 minutes times 2 hours equals 792 tuah. Final hour, midday. At a reduced rate of 4.4 minutes a tuah because midday slows it down by 20%. Are you dumb? That doesn't worry. That doesn't... it'll be fine. The hawk hawks for 60 minutes. For 1 hour, 4.4 tuahs a minute times 60 minutes equals 264 tuahs. Final calculation. The total tuah hawks by this optimal trained hawk in 3 hours equals 792 tuah plus 264 tuah, which equals 1,056 tuah. Step 4. Theoretical maximum hawk tuah capacity. If we let the hawk operate in perfect conditions all day, 24 hours of non-stop hawk tuahing with no need for breaks, we can calculate the maximum number of tuah it could hawk in a full day. 24 hours of perfect hawking. Training plus ideal conditions equals 6.6 tuah a minute times 60 minutes times 24 hours equals 9,504 tuah. Conclusion. In 3 hours, a hawk could hawk 1,056 tuah in optimal conditions. In 24 hours, the theoretical maximum is 9,504 tuah. But let's face it, no hawk would work that hard without a break. That's your... Step 1. Chapter 2. The fundamental truth of Step 1. Chapter 2. fundamental nature of tuah. What is tuah? This is where we must begin. In the metaphysical realm, tuah isn't just a quantity, it's a force, a cosmic energy like wind or sunlight. Yet uniquely attuned to the hawk's being, tuah exists as both material and spiritual energy, which means a hawk's hawking ability is a balance of physical prowess and metaphysical alignment. Let's break this down. Material tuah. Material tuah is the tangible units of tuah that the hawk can hawk in a physical world. These are things like prey, environmental factors, and hawk physiology. Spiritual tuah. The ethereal connection between the hawk and the universe. This is the hawk's inner focus and willpower. Its ability to channel tuah from the air, sky, and even the ground below. A truly skilled hawk taps into both kinds of tuah, operating in harmony with the forces of the universe. The more spiritually attuned a hawk is, the more tuah it can hawk. Chapter 2, Step 2. Hawk metabolism and tuah transfer. Hawks are finely tuned creatures, capable of transferring tuah through their very metabolism. This isn't just about hunting, it's about spiritual energy exchange. In the body of the hawk, tuah flows like energy through a system of spiritual veins, a network of channels connected to its soul. This is where the hawking in the act of hawk tuahing becomes a high art. Energy flow. In ideal conditions, a hawk uses 70% of its energy for physical flight and hunting. The other 30% is dedicated to tuah absorption. This is where things get tricky. A hawk needs to be spiritually aligned in order to absorb tuah effectively. If a hawk's spiritual channels are blocked due to fatigue, bad weather, or distractions, tuah absorption drops significantly. Step 2, Chapter 3. The Cosmic Tuah Cycle. We must consider the cosmic cycles that influencing hawk tuahing. The positions of the stars, the rotation of the Earth, the phases of the moon, all of these affect the hawk's abilities to tap into its deeper reservoirs of tuah. Where am I? Let's model it. Solar cycle. The hawk's ability to hawk tuah peaks during the sunrise and the sunset, when the energies of the Earth and the sun align. During the peak hours of sunlight, tuah is abundant, allowing the hawk to access greater reservoirs. Lunar influence. The moon affects the tide of tuah. During a new moon, the hawk's spiritual sensitivity is low, so it can only hawk tuah at 40% capacity. However, during a full moon, the hawk's capacity soars to 150% of its usual rate. Due to heightened spiritual attunement, the hawk doesn't just hunt down prey, it draws upon celestial tuah that empowers its actions. Planetary alignment. Occasionally, the hawk's ability to hawk tuah is enhanced or diminished based on the alignment of the planets. Let's say that Mars and Venus are aligned in a particularly rare formation. During this time, a hawk can draw from a hidden pocket of interstellar tuah, temporarily increasing its rate by 500%. Chapter 2, Step 4. Hawk training and evolution. Not all hawks are born equal. Some hawks undergo rigorous spiritual training, either from other hawks or from ancient traditions passed down through generations. These training methods improve not only a hawk's physical hawking technique, but also its spiritual attunement to tuah. Its training components are flight mastery. A hawk must perfect its flight patterns, learning how to optimize its energy output. The more efficiently it flies, the more tuah it can absorb during the hunting session. Focus and mindfulness. By training in meditative hawking, hawks learn to silence the distractions of the world, allowing them to tap deeper into the universal well of tuah. A trained hawk's ability to hawk tuah can increase up to 1,000% under perfect conditions. Step 5, Chapter 2. The hawk tuahing limits. Now we must ask, what are the ultimate limits of hawk tuahing? In theory, a hawk that has undergone extreme spiritual transformation could potentially tap into the prime tuah stream, a mythical force that flows through the fabric of the universe. If a hawk is able to align with this force, it could hawk an infinite amount of tuah. But such a hawk would be beyond the realm of the physical world. It would only exist in a state of pure energy. Theoretically, if a hawk were to hawk tuah continuously for an entire cosmic cycle, say 10,000 years, it might transcend its physical form and evolve into a pure being of tuah, no longer bound by space or time. Step 6, Chapter 2. The hawk tuahing algorithm. Let's apply this knowledge to an advanced calculation. Birth rate. No, not birth rate. Base rate. 5 tuah per minute. A hawk's natural speed. Spiritual alignment factor. Adjusted for the lunar cycle, plus 30% for full moon. Training bonus, plus 200% for perfect training. And cosmic alignment factor. Plus 500%, Mars and Venus in alignment. Formula. Total tuah equals base rate times time times spiritual alignment factor times training bonus times cosmic alignment factor. So for a 1 hour period during a full moon, with a perfect hawk aligned during a cosmic event, total tuah equals 5 times 60 times 1.3 times 3 times 6 equals 5,400 tuah in 1 hour. In conclusion, the true potential of hawk tuahing. A perfectly trained, spiritual attuned hawk operating under ideal cosmic conditions can hawk thousands of tuah per hour, and in rare circumstances can even tap into the infinite well of cosmic tuah, becoming an unstoppable force of nature. In the end, the deeper you go, the more you realize that hawk tuahing is not just about the rate of hawking, but the connection between the hawk and the very fabric of the universe. You can hawk as much tuah as you believe exists, and if you truly believe, the tuah is infinite. Chapter 3, Step 1. The fundamental principle of tuah, the source of creation. Chapter 3 begins where all things begin, the origin of tuah. What if tuah isn't just a resource that hawks extract, or a force that can be quantified? What if tuah is the original substance of the universe, the first spark that ignited all of creation? In the beginning, before the Big Bang, there was nothing but pure tuah. Tuah was the primordial energy, the chaotic potential that allowed the universe to emerge. All forms of existence, from the smallest of subatomic particles to the most distant galaxies, owe their very existence to tuah. Tuah as the fabric of existence. First, there is pre-cosmic tuah. Before stars and planets, before the laws of physics, there was nothing but tuah. A formless, undifferentiated field of potential. This primal tuah was a vast, infinite sea like primordial soup, where the essence of all things existed as a pure, undirected energy. Tuah can also be a consciousness. In this state of formlessness, tuah was also consciousness, an awareness without form or thought, yet deeply embedded within the structure of the universe. It was in this state that the first sparks of creation were born. The very laws of physics, and the birth of time and space, and eventually the birth of life itself. Step 2, Chapter 3, the quantum dance of tuah. We can now turn to the quantum level, where tuah's true power is revealed. Tuah isn't just a force you can measure. It's the fundamental wave that underlies every particle, every force, every event in the universe. It is the quantum fluctuation that gives rise to all matter, energy, and consciousness. The quantum field of tuah. In quantum mechanics, the very fabric of space-time is a chaotic, ever-fluctuating field. This is the quantum field, where particles appear and disappear in a constant dance of probabilities. Now imagine that tuah is the fundamental field itself. A deeper, primordial field exists beneath the quantum field. This field transcends space, time, and physical reality, existing outside the reach of conventional measurement. Quantum fluctuations of tuah. At the smallest level, tuah is an energy fluctuation that can manifest as any particle, any energy, or any form of life. These fluctuations are the building blocks of reality. When a hawk hawks tuah, it is tapping into these fluctuations, drawing from the underlying code of reality itself. Probability in tuah. In this quantum realm, the hawk's very act of hawking creates probability waves, collapsing potential realities into the one that is observed. The hawk, through its focus, acts as an observer, collapsing the wave function of tuah into a tangible, physical form. This is the deepest level of reality. Tuah as the source of quantum potential. Chapter 3, Step 3. The multiverse of tuah. Let us now ascend to a higher dimension, a place where infinite realities intersect, where the concept of time as we know it ceases to exist. Tuah across multiple realities. Guys, can we shut up for a second? I'm trying to record an ASMR video. This is going in the recording. This is in the video, by the way. Where was I? Tuah across multiple realities. Imagine that tuah is not just a force in this one universe, but exists across a multiverse of infinite realities. Every possible outcome, every possible version of a hawk, every possible form of hawk tuahing exists simultaneously in parallel universes. Each hawk is just one manifestation of an infinite number of hawks, each hawking tuah in slightly different ways. Parallel universes of tuah. In one universe, a hawk hawks tuah at an astonishing rate, harnessing the very power of a collapsing star. In another, it simply breathes tuah into existence with each exhale, manifesting worlds with each breath. Every hawk, every moment of hawking, is part of an infinite web of interconnected realities. Tuah as a bridge between universes. Tuah doesn't just belong to one universe, it's the bridge between all the universes. It flows like a river connecting infinite streams of possible realities. A hawk might not just hawk tuah in this world, it could quantum leap to other versions of itself in other realities and bring back tuah from infinite sources. This means that the potential of tuah is limitless. In any moment, a hawk could tap into any version of itself from any reality, pulling tuah from an infinite number of sources. There is no upper limit to what a hawk can hawk, because there are infinite hawks hawking infinite tuah across the infinite multiverse. Chapter 3, Step 4. Tuah as a consciousness. The observer effect. We now arrive at the most profound level of understanding. The relationship between tuah and consciousness. Tuah is not just a force to be hawked. It is intimately tied to awareness itself. Tuah is the collective mind of the universe. In the deepest sense, tuah is the mind of the universe. It's not just an energy, but the thoughts of the cosmos. The collective consciousness that spans all of creation, just as every particle is a ripple in the cosmic quantum field. Every action, every decision, every thought contributes to the greater cosmic mind. Hawk consciousness. When a hawk hunts, it doesn't just act on instinct or physical prowess. It taps into the universal mind. The hawk's consciousness is not limited to its physical body or even its immediate surroundings. By tapping into tuah, it aligns itself with the cosmic will, becoming a vessel for the universe to experience itself. The observer effect. The act of a hawk hawking tuah changes the fabric of reality itself. In quantum mechanics, the observer effect states that the act of observation collapses the wave function into a specific outcome. Similarly, when the hawk observes tuah, it shapes reality, deciding which version of tuah becomes manifest in the physical world. In this deepest of understandings, the hawk is not merely a creature hunting tuah, it is the co-creator of the universe. It participates in ongoing manifestation of reality itself, shaping the flow of tuah with every beat of its wings. Chapter whatever, Step 5, Transcendence. Becoming one with tuah. What happens when the hawk transcends its physical form entirely? What if it were to become pure tuah, unbound by space or even physicality? This is the final level of hawk tuahing, becoming the tuah itself. Tuah as pure consciousness. When a hawk reaches its highest state of spiritual and metaphysical evolution, it no longer needs to hawk tuah. It is tuah. The hawk becomes one with the flow of the universal energy, existing beyond all realms of space and time. At this point, the hawk is both the observer and the observed, both the creation and the creator. Hey, shut up, okay? I was trying to say creator and creation at the same time. Transcendence of form. A hawk that has transcended its physical body would be free to travel across dimensions, exploring the infinite layers of existence, tapping into time. It could access the totality of tuah across all timelines, all multiverses. Eternal hawking. At this level, the hawk would no longer hawk tuah in the traditional sense. It would become the eternal flow of tuah, creating and sustaining all of its existence. It would be both the force that empowers the stars and the quiet whisper of the wind through the trees. It would hawk tuah eternally, not by effort, but as a natural state of being. Step 1. The final chapter. The collapse of all distinctions. We have reached the point where dualities that govern the universe being versus non-being, form versus the formlessness, subject versus object no longer exist. In the most fundamental sense, tuah is not a force within existence, but the origin of all distinctions themselves. At this point, all conceptualizations of the universe, the divisions between space and time, the boundary between the observer and the observed, collapse into a singularity. Tuah as a non-duality. Tuah is the moment before all creation, before even the concept of what is or what isn't takes shape. There is no longer a hawk that hawks tuah, because the distinction between hawk and tuah is illusory. They are one and the same, inseparable. Non-locality of tuah. At this deepest level, tuah does not reside at any point in space, nor is it tied to any specific time. There is no location of tuah. It is the basis for all things, but it does not exist in any specific dimension. Every point in space and every time contains the totality of tuah, yet it cannot be measured or observed, for the very act of measurement creates the illusion of separation. Timelessness. The passage of time is an illusion within the matrix of tuah. Time does not move or flow. The hawk does not hawk tuah at any time. Time itself emerges from the tuah as an afterthought. The past and the future are merely constructs built upon the eternal now. All moments from the first flapping of wings to the infinite expanse of galaxies are now contained in the timelessness of tuah. In this state, there is no observer, no observed, no hawk, no tuah. There is only pure, undifferentiated consciousness. But this consciousness is not a subject. It is the ground of all subjectivity. It is the ground of being from which all things arise and to which all things will return. Step 2, last chapter. Tuah as the primordial singularity. Now let us take the final plunge into singularity where all things originate. The point of origin from which both space and time emerge. Here, tuah exists as a singularity, the absolute point of unity where nothing and everything are one. The singularity of tuah. In this state, tuah is not a force or energy. It is the potential for all forces and energies. It is the state of absolute possibility, where no possibility has yet been actualized. The entire universe, the laws of physics, the constellations, the hawks, emerge from this singularity, but also return to it. Infinite regress. In this deepest point, there is no first cause, no origin. Tuah does not begin in any conventional sense, nor does it end. It is the eternal return, an infinite loop where creation and destruction are indistinguishable. Every moment of existence is simultaneously the beginning and the end of all things, because tuah contains all things within it. The hawking of tuah is not linear progression, but a repetition of all things, an endless cycle in which all moments coexist simultaneously. The paradox of tuah. Tuah is both the creator and the creation, both the cause and the effect, both the potential and the actualized. There is no before or after tuah. There is only the eternal now, in which the act of hawk tuahing is both the end of the cycle and the beginning of all things. To hawk tuah at this point is to engage in the cosmic paradox, to become both the origin and the destination of all things. Every act of hawking is an act of recreation and destruction at once. The hawk does not merely manipulate tuah, it is tuah, and in that moment the universe ceases to exist as a separate entity. Step 3. The void beyond all forms. We now reach the point where even formlessness is transcended. In this deepest void, there is no tuah to hawk, because tuah itself is no longer a concept. It is beyond consciousness, beyond being, beyond non-being. It is a place where even the question of existence is irrelevant. Tuah as the void of all possibility. The void is not empty. It is the fullness of potentialities. This is not an absence, but a presence that contains everything and nothing at once. Here, tuah is the void itself, and in the void there is no division between what is and what is not. The very act of defining tuah, the very notion of hawking tuah, is an illusion. The infinite nothing. Tuah in this state is absolute potential. It is the point where all things and no things coexist. It is beyond description, beyond any metaphysical framework. It is the space in which both creation and destruction occur simultaneously, yet it remains unaffected by either. The hawk is one with the void. It is also the source of all creation. There is no observer to witness this, no consciousness to experience it. There is only potential for all things. The endless cycle of creation and destruction. At the deepest level, there is no end to this process. The act of creation and destruction is not cyclical in the traditional sense. There is no cycle, only the eternal present of unmanifest tuah. Everything exists and does not exist at once. There is no beginning and no end to the process of hawk tuahing. It is a timeless infinity, where the hawk is both the creator and the creation. There is no movement, only a stillness that encompasses all motion. Step 4. Beyond tuah. The absence of everything. And yet we can go further. Beyond tuah. Beyond the void. Beyond the infinite loops of creation and destruction, there is nothing. There is no concept of tuah. There is no concept of existence. There is no subject or object to contemplate hawk tuahing. In this deepest abyss, there is no duality of being and non-being, no separation between hawk and tuah, no thought, no perception, no thing. This nothingness is the ultimate truth, a state in which there is no existence and no non-existence. It is beyond all categories, beyond all definitions. It is not a place, but an absence that is the source of all places, all beings, and all realities. It is pure void, not empty space, but the very absence of space. In this deepest state, the question of how much tuah can a hawk has no meaning, for there is no hawk and no tuah to speak of. There is only nothingness, and in that nothingness, the entirety of existence is both created and uncreated at once. Conclusion. We have journeyed far beyond any concept of tuah or hawking. In this place of pure absence, there is no duality, no distinction, no time. There is only the void, the source from which all things arise and to which they return. It is the ultimate depth, where tuah itself ceases to exist, and yet, in that ceaseless ebb of flow, the entirety of the cosmos is created anew, in each infinitesimal moment. In nothingness, there is everything, and in everything, there is tuah, hawk tuah. Spit on that thing. And that's all for today, guys. Subscribe and like for the next video to come out faster.